And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Whitfield Report. I'm your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live here from NGC Studios here in South Florida. And I want to thank you so very much for joining me here tonight. Hopefully you guys can hear me all right. We do have some people in the chat, so but according to this icon here, no live viewers, which is kind of weird since I know we have I guess there it goes, we're starting to populate. Anyway, folks, contact info as usual. If you would like to reach out to me, you can do so by tweeting me at SamW_NDC, hashtag Whitfield Report, hashtag Sam Savages. You can follow the Whitfield Report at Whitfield Report. Subscribe to the audio podcast on anchor.fm/Whitfield Report, where you can find the audio podcast feeds wherever you get your podcasts, and thesamwhitfield.com, and finally facebook.com/Whitfield Report for all your Facebook needs for the show. All right, folks, and tonight I have two guests coming on the show to discuss this whole conservative infighting thing, and let me go ahead and introduce them. So they've been previous guests before, but Sean and Dictator Phil are both affiliated with the Turning Point USA chapter at Penn State University, and they are also the hosts of Real News on Penn State's radio station over there, and they are the owners of the Versa News Media Network. So I figured I would invite them on to discuss some of this, kind of the culture war and all this infighting and whatnot. So how are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Pretty good. When you mentioned the infighting, though, we've definitely felt it at our chapter because I'm the Turning Point USA president at Penn State, and I can tell you that people have definitely been voicing their opinions on it.
Yeah, I know that, and I mean, obviously, I know that there's, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is it seems like a lot of people are, have some general misconceptions about, Turning Point as a whole. Obviously, Charlie Kirk is at the center of his own controversy right now, and I realize that there's some stuff that you might not be able to, go into. But what I wanted to ask is more how does Turning Point, like as individual chapters, how do they operate as far as what you guys can do?
Okay, well, at our chapter at Penn State, we started off like a few years ago, and we've pretty much been the same we've always been, where we're very pro-free speech, pro-capitalism, pro-America. We have our meetings where we sort of talk about current events, and our meetings aren't dictated anyway by the national organization. We kind of run them how we want to, and they're very, they kind of let us do our own thing, and they're very fun, free-flowing. One area where Turning Point National does have a big say over every chapter is speakers. When you want to bring a speaker, you make a request online, and they have to approve of that speaker for you to bring them. And it's publicly available. Like, I'm not revealing any big secret anywhere. Like, you just find it on their site. But at our level, what I told our members is, like, I don't care what you think of Charlie Kirk, it's Turning Point National, whatever. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, which is have free speech, have open discussions, and keep doing the events we want to do. For example, like last week, we just had an event called The Censored with Sargon of Akkad and Hunter Avalone. And that event had an open mic Q&A where people could ask whatever questions they want to. They all lined up and we let everyone we could ask question with given time. And it was totally fun, great conversation, and everybody loved the event.
Alex has also joined the chat, and he is
off. This. It's not letting. It keeps playing out of my my speakers for some reason.
Maybe because you have the Discord still open.
Yeah, it might be it.
Yeah. Technical
difficulty. Yeah, that's probably it. If your Discord's still on, you're probably not going to be able to hear it. What I ended up doing, because I couldn't hear Sam originally, so just get out of the Discord. Well, get out of this. Get off.
Oh my God, I was able to. Yeah, I had to go and change something in the settings. I got it now.
All right.
Live with instructions, yes.
Yep. So we're a little bit behind the scenes here, folks. But anyway, so the conservative movement seems to kind of be in like a weird, flux position right now. There's a whole bunch of controversy regarding, Charlie and Steven Crowder and Nick Fuentes and just of crazy stuff that's been going on. You guys have always been very rational in my mind. What you guys are doing with Turning Point and with your show is from what I've heard of your show, you guys have reasonable discussions, and I know that word gets overused a lot, but you guys really do seem to have reasonable discussion regarding politics and current events and kind of culture war stuff. So what have you guys kind of noticed? Because I'm just like a radio show host, but I know Sean and Alex, you guys are actually on the ground of what's going on. So,
yeah, what I'd say is with Fuentes, I obviously am not a fan of him because, like we said, you guys know our views. Most of us here are pretty moderate. Fuentes is pretty far right. He's got a lot of views on race I think are wacky. But the thing is, I'm afraid I started to see that on the ground level too at campuses. And I'm seeing it now at Ohio State, where we saw Charlie getting asked a bunch of questions by these groypers, as they're being called, is that there is a growing far-right movement on the right. And I always thought the alt-right was irrelevant. And I don't think this will grow into anything big, but I am still scared because of the reaction that got, because I'm seeing there's a huge group of people on campus that are just dissident right-wingers that are fun, provocative, and edgy. But there's a portion of that that's going further right, and that's where this far-right thing's coming into play. And these people are too radical. Their views on things are way too out of line. And some of them, though, most of them, I should say, on the dissident right, that are your fans of Milo and Gavin McInnes and Crowder and more your Trump crowd. Those are just totally cool, normal people. They're fine. I love them. But this far right little fringe is dangerous. I'm afraid it can get out of hand because the left created this monster. And to be honest with you, it would be better to handle them by, listen to what they have to say and just show how dumb they are. That's, to me, the best way to handle them. And unfortunately, I think the other fear I have is that some organizations out there are going to, lose support for whatever it is reason for these current events. Like there's a bunch of Turning Point presidents, secretaries, treasurers at Kansas City and I think it was Kansas City or somewhere in Kansas, and a bunch of other chapters are dropping out. We're not going to drop out here. None of us are dropping out. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. It's never changed. It never will. But this is happening across the country. That's not my opinion. That's just what's happening.
Yep, and I mean, people here are bringing up groypers in the chat. You know, and look, I mean, I'm 25, like I'm not super old, but I'll admit when it comes to like all, here's the thing, guys, for the audience, memes change and whatnot so much that even I kind of become boomerish when it comes to like all these new memes that are, you know, out there. So, like, I kind of know a groiper is, but I mean, it, you know, like I said, I think it's people taking memes too seriously. And, yeah. I mean, as far as like Fuentes and Allsup and, you know, Vince James goes, and really anyone, I think they should all be allowed to speak. I might not, you know, agree with everything they say, but I certainly do think that, you know, they should have a right to speak. And I think deplatforming is a stupid thing. So
Yeah, I'm totally against deplatforming and censoring anyone. It doesn't work in terms of actually combating some of these people, because it just, as we were discussing on our show, and the Lions just embraces them and they become bigger. But censorship does work in a way to people like Milo, where he wants to, if he wants to sell a book, if he wants to tell people about a talk he's having, he doesn't have his millions of followers on Facebook and Twitter now and Instagram combined to advertise that stuff, and it kills his business. It does. He talks about this all the time, and you know, I'm scared that. And Chadwick Moore had a great article about this where he's talking about where when you mentioned like you feel like a boomer now. I know what you mean, because when the Trump thing happened, like that was the new hip thing, and I loved it, and that's what I was a big part of. But now that that's already happened, you know, with anything, with trends, a new one appears, and this is the new one right now. And, you know, that bandwagon effect takes place, and you get people jumping on it, and you give Fuentes a lot of followers now. Like he's climbing up now because of all this stuff.
yeah, and I mean and then I mean the other thing is it harms people like me who are you know, obviously political commentators, but I also do some comedy and some, you know, humor stuff. And now, I mean, I talked a little about this on your show earlier tonight when I was on there, but I mean, comedy also is really kind of becoming an edgy, you know, thing now too, just because you know, everyone is so clip happy that if you take a joke out of context now, it's, you know, you can be ruined for that now too, and we can thank the left for that as well. So
yeah, and they were doing that to Sargon of Akkad, and he came to Penn State. He kept taking his jokes out of context, like one that he made about British, and I forget what her position is, Jess Phillips. You know, there was the infamous, you know, I wouldn't even rape you one, but there was another one he made later because it was obviously a joke. The first one, like it or not, and he obviously the intention was to make people laugh and think, and he was making a non-threat, even though people interpret it as a threat, and they played into his troll. But he later sent a video like, well, given enough beer, I might cave. And it was a total joke. The whole video was a joke. There were joke after joke after joke, but nobody interpreted it that way from the radical left here.
yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Ultimately, the left can't take you know, jokes at all to save their life, which is both stupid and sad.
Well, that's because
I mean,
that's because they're
Oh,
not
go ahead.
funny. That's because they're not funny themselves. See, because if you put them next to somebody who's funny, they're going to be lame. Like, so you have to chop everybody down. Like, oh, they're offensive because in comparison, they want somebody like Amy Schumer or Lily Singh to actually be funny, even though they're not. Like, so you're gonna attack people like, you know, Steven Crowder or Sargon of Akkad, because the people that are actually funny versus Lily Singh.
I actually, one of the podcasts I listened to was actually talking about Lily Singh the other day, and I guess Lily Singh actually, her entire show is staged to the point where, like, I guess even the audience is like purposely instructed to laugh, and then her, I didn't, I always like heard rumors that these people existed, but I didn't know that this was an actual thing. But I guess out in Hollywood, you can actually get like paid if you're like if you're like trying to break into show business. One of the things that you can do is you can actually be hired to be like a seat filler for some of these shows. And I guess that like for Lily Singh's show, they have to do that a lot. And so basically like what they've had to do for her show is they literally have to fill the seats and pay people to fill seats and then instruct them which jokes to laugh at specifically, and like not just that but how much they have to laugh. I would say it's funny, but it's not. It's quite sad that they have to do that now. So death of comedy, folks. So
well, we'll still be around. Like, we'll still be around, and comedy's not dead. It's just bombarded by garbage. Like, you're talking about Lily Singh and Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and all these these really terrible late night comedy shows. And it's a shame. It's no surprise that they're doing as terrible as they are, and somebody like Greg Gutfeld is doing as well as he is. It's like, that's actually like that show is actually pretty funny versus them, and like people, and more people are actually starting to watch Greg Gutfeld too, despite the bigger platform with NBC, CBS, all those. I mean, you look at it, comedy, and honestly, this is where they're going to lose again. I feel like they're going to lose again, because even in 2016, it was like the comedy was really on the side of the Republicans, especially, with just, the memes and stuff. Like, all the funny memes were coming from the right. And
I would still say that the actual comedy is from our side. I mean, I'm not even a comedian, and I'm not even like, I don't call myself a comedian, but I know that some other people have, and it's like, well, I didn't intend for this, but I mean, I do like to do funny things somewhat. So, I mean, we have funny people in the chat now, too. Also, some very, you guys are funny too. So,
yikes.
So
well, I'm funny. Damn.
I find Dictator Phil's name, funny just in general, especially since
yikes.
He really puts the name Dick into he puts the Dick into Dictator.
Oh, damn.
Especially when it comes to slamming libs on Twitter. It's one of my favorite things, watching Dictator Phil light up people on Twitter. So
they really make it easy. Oh, I had a question. Have any of you seen a picture of what Kathy Griffin looks like now?
Oh no.
Oh, it's freaking hideous. Oh, you got to look it up. Okay. Don't do it if you're about to eat, but yeah, look it up sometime, and I'm telling you, you'll be like, you'll actually feel sorry for her. She kind of looks like a drug addict that's had one too many visits to the plastic surgeon. It's like really bad.
Well, you're not on terrestrial radio anymore, so you can go uncensored here. Folks, I will admit, when I was on Versa Media, I made a mistake, and I said a naughty word on accident on
Sam, those
real news.
and
So,
that didn't happen. It just, I don't know, something about it just magically disappeared.
so
Yeah.
yeah, well, the dump button is often my best friend. So you
Yes.
guys are lucky you don't have like a live chat for the radio station now either. That would be disastrous.
Oh, we should find a way to
So-
do that now.
Well,
I wanna
actually,
see that.
I see. I don't know the legalities of live streaming the radio to like our channel. That's the only reason I haven't done it. When we did an off-air interview of Hunter Avalon, we did a live stream, and unfortunately, our channel is still a little too small to get some engagement when we do that sort of stuff. I know you would pop in. I remember when I was doing like test live streams, you'd be like, "Oh, you guys are live." Like, not exactly, but kind of. And that's definitely one of our goals because I love to interact with people online. It's always fun. And I'd like to do that. It's just I need to figure out the legalities of that, and we need to grow a little bit more to do that. But we've grown a lot since Sargon came on our show, and we gained like 60 subs, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have landed some major, guests in just the past year. You guys are gonna skyrocket over me soon. I mean, you guys have had Milo, on. You've had, you've had Sargon, Hunter Avalon,
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, we had you. We had you were actually on. I think what was so cool is that you were actually on the first day that we actually did actual like guests. Like we had callers, but Dictator Phil here set us up with Styx Hexenhammer on the YouTube. And Vox Apocalypse was happening with Steven Crowder, and we landed a call-in with Styx Hexenhammer, Trent Lipinski, and of course you, Sam. And then after that, I think we got Milo right after that. I don't remember if we had any. Oh, well, we had Liberty Doll. That was the other one. We had Liberty Doll, and then Milo, and then we got Cernovich, Sargon of Akkad, Hunter Avalon, then Jack Posobiec last week. And we'll see who we get next, but we're hitting some big ones, and it's been really cool. I'm not gonna lie.
I haven't listened to it, but I have to ask, how was the interview with Mike Cernovich? So
Cernovich is pretty nice, pretty cool guy. I mean, he's exactly what you see on his live streams and whatnot. I will say, just like I'm not trying to like rank any of these because they're all really amazing and cool, but so far my favorites were Milo and Sargon was favorite in a different way because I actually got to talk with him a lot because we had our speaking event. So I had dinner with him with Dictator Phil and a few other people, and I picked him up at the airport with my girlfriend. So Sargon was like almost, I guess you could say, like the interview itself wasn't my favorite part. It was actually the other stuff we did with him. But Milo is my personal favorite because I've always just been a huge fan. Like he's like one of my top like right-wing idols, and that was just surreal, and it was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I do dig on Cernovich a little bit just in terms of the list because it's but he's done some good stuff. And I'm still a big fan of Gavin McGinnis. Despite the fact that like even my audience tends to disagree with me on Gavin somewhat, but oh well,
Maybe another dream one for me to get on because even though I hadn't followed him as long as Milo, he just sort of hits me a certain way where he's one of my top guys that like no matter where he goes, I'm gonna follow him and listen to him and watch him.
Same with Joe Rogan. I even though Joe Rogan's not really conservative, I've just always liked his style. So yeah. He would actually be the one, I guess, liberal who I would like to have on. Although I don't think he doesn't do podcast unless it's Joey Diaz's podcast. So,
kind of ironic. The podcast king doesn't do podcasts.
Yeah, well, he he doesn't need to. Everyone knows who he is. So,
I see people in the
What
chat.
do you guys think?
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Oh yeah, go ahead. What were you saying about the chat?
Well, I've seen some people saying in chat like I missed 2016 Milo, or some people are like I've lost my love for Milo. I would just say follow him on Telegram if you want to like keep up with him. But I will say that he's got some, a new show on Free Speech TV. I haven't seen it yet, but he's still there. Just gotta search for him.
Join well. I would say join Gavin's Discord. That's where you'll find me. Join the Savages Discord though too. I am building my Discord server up, so I'll post that here soon in the next few weeks. Moving on to some political stuff though, just more than conservative infighting. Beta Cuck O'Rourke has dropped out, and I am fucking glad about that. So, what do you guys think of this, shit show of an election so far? And are the Democrats going to be they're obsessed with impeachment right now, and they're moving forward with that. The fact that I think they're already trying to impeach Trump tells me that they have no confidence in themselves. So, in winning. So, what do you mad lads think about all of that?
Well, I think that you're right. They have no confidence in their own people, and that's the thing I've noticed with especially the left, because I keep bringing up our event, but like it's a good mirror of this stuff. But the college Democrats tried to shut down our Turning Point chapter for bringing Sargon, and what the left does is that if they aren't good at something, if they're not winning, they just try to take the other side down. They just try to shut you down if they have nothing good to show for. Because if they did, they'd be doing that, not trying to shut other people down. And it's typical of losers in general. Like Trump talks about all the time in the Art of the Deal. But the Beto was one of those guys that when he was against Ted Cruz, he actually looked kind of good. But when he's compared to other Democrats who are sort of other people in the same market, he looks terrible because there are people better than him. There's better candidates. And, he was going to drop out eventually. Like, I'm surprised it was kind of at this time that he did it, to be honest with you. But, I kind of expect him to last a little bit longer. But, they probably are in the cabinet position.
I felt like once he said that, heck yes, we're going to take your AR-15s, I felt like that the end was coming soon. Like normally when you see Democratic politicians, or really a lot of like politicians, when they're mainstream and then all of a sudden they start going extreme in their views, like that's the beginning of the end usually. Like when you see like, oh, because he was kind of quiet for the most part, and then like right at the end we heard, heck yes, we're going to take your AR-15s, and if you don't support gay marriage, we're gonna take your tax exemption status and just stuff like that. And I'm like, this is crazy, but I'm like, he's probably done. And lo and behold, boom.
I don't think this guy had a chance to begin with. Look at him. What did he accomplish? He had a failed bid for Ted Cruz's spot. That's about it.
Well, people in the chat are making beta references. Ron Stone in the chat referenced a Who song, "You Beto, you Beto, you bet." So, props to you. I'm a huge Who fan. Nice, Ron. You get the I think you get the comment of the evening.
No, I like the Beto luck next time. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, Beta. I mean, look, there are a whole bunch of Beto puns that you can make. So, but yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't like. I'm actually surprised that Beta lasted this long. I called him the. He reminds me of the guy, of like the hipster guy in college who would always bring like a guitar to parties and just like annoyingly like show like he wasn't good, but he was but he just reminds me of the guy who would like always show up with a guitar at like a party and just start playing when no one
Well,
wants him to.
Well, yeah,
So-
do you look at his stuff when he was in college? Like he was fucking nuts.
I like.
Like he was
Yeah,
like
he's like
making
the real
calls on, like,
douchebag
Wax
that
My
sits on the
Ass.
steps and plays that weird gay cover of "Hey There, Delilah."
No, this guy's
Hey
full
there,
of shit.
Delilah. Na, 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 na.
Was he just like he was in a fucking anarchist collective, like singing these fucked up songs? He probably couldn't even. It was like a hacker collective. He probably doesn't even know how to fucking operate a computer.
I can't stand people like that. I'm like,
It's like fucking. It was like Bernie Sanders almost. Like I don't know if you saw the article.
I'm the guy that I'll go to a party and I'll see a douchebag and I'll try to like rip. I'll try to chuck an insult at him of some kind, but I have to chuck an insult at him so good that it goes completely over his head.
He's also the guy who like tries to steal your girlfriend, but then when you confront him about like that, like, hey dude, like stop like, looking at my girlfriend. He's like, what? I wasn't looking at your girlfriend, even though, I totally was. And it's like,
fuck those guys. The thing too is with Beta, when he came to Penn State, I actually saw him. I actually see his speech, but I saw him like walking over to with a group of people. And I saw him when he was exiting and shaking hands with people and talking to the press a bit. Like, I think he's a guy that's genuinely like harmless. Like, I think he might actually have some good intentions in him. It's just he's goofy. I really don't think he's a bad guy. He's just goofy, and he's very like kind of disjointed. It's been somebody made a Who reference. Like, there's actually a video of him in the car where like they're playing. I think it's Bob O'Reilly, and he's like drumming it. I'm like, see, that's what he should go back to because he's honestly good at that to some degree. And he always kept pulling out. I was in a punk rock band, like trying to be cool and shit. But jumping off of that, the rest of the field, though, I think, Biden, I think with the impeachment shit, I think the Democrats want to kill two birds with one stone. They want to try and take out Trump, which they're not gonna, and it's stupid because they're going to bring in Pence and bring in the devil now from their point of view. So the impeachment thing really isn't about Trump. I think they think it's more of a good strategy to, energize their base, which it's not. I hate to break it to you guys, it's not. But they want to also take out Biden. The media's never liked Biden. You look at the CNN, they're always trashing Biden, and even they will admit like, yeah, there's some shady shit with him. And it's more than shady, it's corrupt. But they're gonna try and take him out because his poll numbers will plummet, and he was never the nominee, never going to be. But what they wanted all along was to have Kamala Harris. That's who CNN's Jeff Zucker wanted. That's who the donors wanted. Now, if she shakes up her staff and adds some people that can pull the right strings on her, she could still do it. She checks the right demographic boxes, and she's got a certain, moderate enough view and some of the new views that she can pull this off. But right now, I think some of them want Warren. But the problem with Warren is she's a white woman, or sorry, Native American. Yeah, correction.
Yeah, correction. That's 1 in 10.
10,000.
10,034
Native American or something like that.
Yeah,
Is that right? It's hard. Those last two digits are hard. I'm sorry. All right. You go so far. You go so far on the end. You lose count after all those numbers. Okay. But
I would just like to point out that probably not Jen, who is one of my mods, is a sexist, even though she's a woman. Because she said, she's unqualified.
Yeah, that's funny.
How dare you? Probably not Jen.
How dare you? How dare you?
Shame.
How dare you?
I don't know, man. None of these guys look like they're gonna do anything.
Really
in the
terrible Greta Thunberg.
Well,
that does sound perfect.
I mean, Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is basically just like she and Owen Benjamin kind of remind me of like the same person. They're just both like they're both just crazy. So,
well, I think with Greta too, like It's interesting to see how the Democrat, like, bring up another Penn State story. Because honestly, you learn a lot on these campuses outside of the classroom. One of the things I learned was when David Hogg came to speak, his speech was not about gun control. Yes, that's the topics he mentioned, but that's not the real point of it. The point of it was to get young people registered to vote for Democrats. It's about mobilization. This is an Alinsky tactic. It's very important because, persuasion's only part of the game. The other part of it's mobilizing your voters to come out and vote. And what he was there to do, with either his intention or not, it's probably more the DNC, the big strings pulling him, is to mobilize young people around an issue that they feel is relevant to them, because school shootings are happening at schools. Who goes to schools? Young people. Who the Democrats want to vote? More young people. So they go there with this issue. David Hogg's waving the I'm a victim flag, and you guys got to stop those mean Republicans that support the NRA that kill me or kill my classmates. And they use that to get votes. And that's the same thing with Greta. Greta is literally just a pawn. She is being used. She's a tool. She's young. She doesn't even know a lot about what she's talking about. And when you see her, she's totally reading a script. If you see her when she's not giving a speech and they ask her some questions, somewhat not even tough questions, but questions that sort of grill into her a bit, she doesn't have an answer. She'll just go back to her script and she'll stumble. And yeah.
Well, she's a kid. She's just a pawn by the political establishment. I doubt she really believes in like half the stuff that she's forced to read. It's like child abuse.
So is it me, or does Greta Thunberg look like when she gave that speech, the "How dare you" speech?
Mm-hmm.
She looked to me like a baby looks when she's about to take a shit. like she's looking like, "How dare you," and the one eye is like more open than the other one. I'm like, oh, she's taking a shit. Oh, I hope she's got a diaper on.
Well, see, that's like, kids are so emotional and so inexperienced. Like, why are we being told to look up to children? People that can't even vote, people that haven't had a real job, that aren't paying taxes, that aren't doing shit in this world, as like these, voices of reason on any issue. It's one of the stupidest things ever.
Well, that's who the Democrats want to reach out to. They're people who don't have real jobs, people who don't pay taxes.
On our show earlier, that when these like college Dems started calling us Nazis, I was like, well, screw it. I'll browse a little bit of Mein Kampf, the novel written by So I was like, all right, so I'll browse that a little bit. One of the things I saw in there was the using children to persuade an argument. Like, if you're losing an argument, put it use a child to help win your argument. And this is it. Like, Greta Thunberg, whoever did this is literally freaking Hitler. Like,
literally Hitler.
Literally Hitler, sir.
That's half their arguments. It's all like, oh, think of the children. Oh, this, like, that's how you get bad stuff done. It's like, if it's not children, it's like some sort of natural disaster.
And it's like, look, the left exhibits more Mein Kampf Nazi behavior than anybody, yet they're the ones calling us Nazis.
Well, not necessarily with that, but to be fair,
it's like the guy who cheats on his girlfriend and then accuses her of cheating, like, every turn. It's like, oh, I'm going out. Who you fucking, huh?
Well, to be fair, the right doesn't use children, but they'll use like disasters and shit to go and do the same sort of thing. Like, oh, look, 9/11 happened. Let's go and make everyone, like, let's live in a fucking police state now because 9/11 happened. They did the same stuff. Like, every time you go to the fucking airplane, you get like groped.
Oh yeah.
Well, the other thing too is like we were like, some of the right were pushing Khashoggi up after the Parkland thing. And here's the thing, though. like George Carlin has a great bit on this. He goes, politicians always hide behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. And it's so true. And let's be real, these methods work. That's why they keep using them, because they're emotional. They're manipulating people's emotions. People like children. They care about children. We're human. We're meant to care for them. And when you're using emotion, an emotional speech as a child, that's going to move the needle. How much does it move it? I don't know, but it's effective. That's why these people use it. It's all about emotional manipulation. That's all politics is. And I hate to say it, but the left is really good at mobilization. They do way better ground game than the Republicans ever do in most areas.
Well, I think it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
little different too. I think it's a little different too because their platform is just larger, like in terms of media reach, because they own all the fucking media, all the media.
That's
so
true.
when they say something, it resonates louder than everybody else because they own television, radio, social media, all of that. So,
but and this is something that's relevant right now. We forgot to talk about this on our show. Where the right is winning, or was winning, I should be more specific, with social media. We had effective voices like Milo, Alex, Gavin, Roger Stone, all these people. They're now all banned because they're effective. And Trump revolutionized social media for politics. No, we never cared about a politician's Twitter feed like we do now. And now you have to be social media savvy to win. If your social media game sucks, you're out. AOC had savvy social media game. She became a star. And now Twitter has banned political ads on Twitter. Wow, isn't it a coincidence after the Trump campaign raised a shit ton of money and the Trump campaign understands social media better than any campaign on planet Earth right now, and Twitter's like, we're going to stop that. Coincidence? I think not.
How many people actually pay attention to Twitter for that stuff, though? Like, honestly, I used to use Twitter a lot, but they just keep banning everyone that I like to watch
what
on there.
was that? Hey, what was Donald Trump's tweet about Beto? Like when Beto dropped out,
It's funny.
I was crying. Like, what? Let me see.
I'll pull it up right now. It says, Trump tweet, "Oh no, Beto has just dropped out of the race for president despite him saying he was, quote, born for this, unquote." I don't think so.
I wonder, okay, so to be truthfully honest, I wonder if he's looking to get on a VP ticket. Because he said he's dropped out of the race for president and he's no longer running for the Senate. Or whatever.
I can see it because I don't think they want to do a dual woman ticket. They want to. There's definitely going to be a woman as a presidential candidate. Without a shadow of a doubt, it has to be a woman. The Democrats have been. They have a strategy. Their master plan over the past few years has been the party of women, because that is the antithesis to Trump in their eyes. So it's going to be a woman. So it's either Kamala or Warren. And I think the VP, like with Hillary, has got to be a man to get that vote in. I'm not saying that men think this way, but this is just how the Democrats are thinking about this. So they're going to put maybe Beto, maybe somebody else, but I could see Beto being the VP pick. I think it'd be a bad pick, but I could see a Warren Beto ticket.
Oh, God. They would get so trashed by Trump. I hope they go for that.
I do too. They would get totally trashed, but they're not going to do a 2-woman ticket. Some people in the comments are saying, like, it's not going to happen, but it's going to be probably Warren, somebody else, or Kamala and somebody else. I'm still going to keep my money on Kamala, despite what everything's telling me, because she fits it more and she's still in the race.
I don't think she's doing that good right now.
Yeah,
like,
she
had to go do a major revamp.
I know, but here's the thing. What you can see in politics, everything change overnight like that. It can happen. Not saying it will. It's just she's been the one they've wanted. And I can't just completely drop all my bets yet. And Warren is a bit too, even Cernovich was saying, it's like Warren might be it, but she's a little bit not quite what they want.
Right.
Well, maybe they realized for the generals, like, maybe that's who they want.
She's a solid Native American candidate. No, what I was saying was, I think Andrew Yang gave us a little gift too. He was quoted on an interview saying that he absolutely would consider going on a Joe Biden ticket. And I'm like, thank you for saying that retarded shit. Thank you so much. Like,
what about that comedian guy who there's like some unknown comedian out there who was also like running as like a presidential candidate. Porcelain just did a documentary on him. His name is like Kyle something. He's basically like an open mic comic. So
Oh really? Oh, you're talking about Beto?
Yeah, it's like that's like the entire Democrat field. They're all fucking jokes.
In order to be a comedian, you have to actually be funny.
Oh
hang
yeah.
on,
Amy Schumer's still a comedian, so.
Well,
no one's laughing now.
True.
hang on.
Apparently, Lily Singh is a comedian too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now the non-comics are the comedians. That's just.
But at least
you're laughing at them, not with them.
At least Lily Singh is semi-fuckable. I mean, Amy Schumer. There's not enough of fucking alcohol in the world for that one.
Sargon.
She makes jokes about that shit in her own fucking stand-up because she knows it's true. She looks like fucking Mr. Potato Head's wife.
Well, Nicole Arbor shouldn't be doing comedy either, but she should be doing me. So
that's a good one. I mean, honestly, you look at these late night hosts as a good example. Like they used to be hired to be funny. That was their job. Like Jay Leno was funny, Johnny Carson was funny, Letterman was funny. These people were funny, and that was what they did. Like that was their job. But now you have people like Jimmy Kimmel and fucking Jimmy Fallon. They're all about like
Jimmy.
Kids like, they're all Jimmys, and they're like, this is what the kids like. Somebody's trendy and cool and hates Trump every night and makes rants against Republicans. It's like, that's not your fucking job. Like, go back to being funny. This is what where the right is fucking up. Get people out there that are funny and push them. Milo, why did you guys, the fucking Reagan Battalion, I hope burns and dies and is non-existent tomorrow morning. Not the people, of course. Somebody takes out of context. The actual organization.
Because Reagan Battalion. That sounds so full of themselves. Like, we're the rich. It's like a bunch of fucking boomers on a fucking computer.
It's a bunch of people that once Milo was announced to speak at CPAC, they didn't like that, so they took him out. He was one of the first to get canceled. It's total bullshit. And people, you should literally have a TV network. Somebody on the right needs to get some donors together, make a TV network that has Gavin McInnes and Milo and Crowder as your late night lineup.
Don't forget Anthony Cumia.
And Cumia, we can put him in there. We're gonna have a 4-person late night, thing, and then have a bunch of other people doing the news during the day. Get these people together on something that can be a Fox competitor, a liberal network competitor, because Fox is sucks now. Ever since Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly went, it's been terrible. They don't have talent, but okay, let me correct this. Something good did happen when Shepard Smith left. That was probably the best thing to happen to the network in ages. But other than that, they don't have talent. Greg Gutfeld, I do like though, and Waters, I do like.
Hold on. They have Tucker.
I love Tucker.
Yeah,
you can't cut the Tucker.
Agree with him on that stuff, but he is. I do not want to ever watch his show. Like, there's nothing about that excites me.
Dude, I love his reactions like that. That's just that just put that in there, man.
Well, I don't have cable, so I can't watch. I can't watch Tucker. And
you're not missing anything. Cable sucks.
Well,
it's a wise investment to not invest in cable.
Well, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing too. Is like no one under. I'm sorry to say this, but no one under 70. No one under 70 watches Fox News. I know the numbers. I know the numbers traditionally like 65, but even most 65-year-olds I know don't even watch cable anymore, because even like 65-year-olds have iPads and know what streaming, is.
Yeah, and
that's okay for cable. What are you talking about?
The news itself is fucking dying too. It's like, it's a over the last 10 years, we've started to see a whole bunch of these newspapers having to either shut down or seriously cut costs, like cut their services or whatever. And it's like the model of the newspaper, or even like, you know, or the news site or whatever, like it's not financially feasible. It's not a financially feasible model. So this is where you're starting to see all these people like Huffington Post, and like they're looking for a buyer. All these other, like I think the Oregonian was like one of the ones that was like on the verge of getting shut down. I don't know. And like the New York Times it's easy for the New York Times to kind of stay afloat because they're part owned by some Mexican billionaire. And then, you know, the Washington Post is owned by Jeffrey Bezos. You know, he's probably chucking a loss, but he doesn't care. That it's just it's a pedal. It's like a pedal for propaganda. But that's what you have to do, because the news today is just it's a financially infeasible model.
Well, people don't care about like news.
Tim Cook that are doing the same stuff with like nothing. Like he's just he has his face on a little clip and then on the screen, and he's just going through the news and he gives his analysis, and it's pretty good. And you don't need all this, you know, you don't need expensive shit around you to make it work.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, the rise of independent media with people like Tim Pool and others. Like they have a following. It's just they're not going to be, you know, the big mainstream stars unless they get on some big mainstream like companies or networks. And I think the right needs to form some sort of right-wing Netflix that's like kind of like Blaze TV, kind of like Free Speech TV, but we need it all together because people don't like paying for every one of these because it gets expensive. Like if I want to watch everything I want to watch, I'd have to get Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Free Speech TV, Blaze TV. And by the end of it, you're spending like hundreds of dollars, when if it was all under one or two roofs, it'd be much easier. So that's the issue the right needs, is like the infighting, like as we talked about earlier. On the one hand, there's good infighting where if you're cleaning house, as Milo put it, with when he exposed Lauren Southern, Kaylin Robertson, and the other filmmaker, these people that weren't really authentic conservative people. That is what you need to do, is get those people out. But at the same time, you need to stop this stupid infighting when we all agree on the big shit and we can be together and we can do something good together. But for petty reasons or silly reasons, we don't want to. Like there's certain pettiness, I understand, but you need some, you know, unification. Because look, the big enemy here is the left. Let's fight them. Let's not fight amongst ourselves unless there are some bad actors. And yeah, get rid of them, but do it quickly and move on.
Well, you also got to figure like again with the news being financially infeasible, you're starting to see a lot of these smaller outlets. Like you're starting to see like the Daily Wire, like the Anthony Cumia Show, like Free Speech TV. You're starting to see these smaller subscription-based services, and it becomes a pain in the ass too, because it's like, well, so I got to if I want to listen to news, I have to subscribe to Mug Club, get Free Speech TV, get the Anthony Cumia Show, invest in the Daily Wire, which I'll never fucking do. Like that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for just to listen to some shit. And then because I can't get One America Network on Comcast because, you know, they rather push that bullshit MSNBC. It's like what, like this, this is part of the infighting. The infighting is just a bunch of little smaller people kind of combating each other to try to get the table scraps of what is left. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you guys thinking? But it's part survival too.
And I think also with the infighting in particular, it's happening at multiple levels. Like, to go full circle, like with the Charlie Kirk stuff, that stuff's not going to end anytime soon. And I think what we need to do is sort of, like I said, kind of get to a point where we can all sort of come together on something. Usually, like we had this with Trump. Everybody was together and everybody kind of split ways after we got him in office. We need to find a cause we can all get behind. And I think big tech censorship could be one of those things, but we'll see.
Well, are you saying that big tech censorship's going to unite the right?
I think if it's accelerated enough, it could.
Well, hopefully. I mean, here's the other thing though too. People in the chat are bringing up a good point. Evil Eric says the option of forming your own thoughts is always free, and yeah, that is true, Evil Eric. But we're just talking like content creators here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, part of the big problem is that like YouTube, like people are just saying, all these YouTube is like free. Well, people keep getting banned on YouTube, like the good content creators, except people who scream into mics in the backwoods of Washington, they're still on YouTube somehow. But
well, and on top of that, the other problem is once they get taken off of YouTube or they get taken off all these other platforms, they always inevitably have to go behind a paywall. That's what Milo and Gavin have done with Free Speech TV. And I totally understand it. I don't blame them for it. But the problem with that becomes is people can't find you, or they don't see your content because people aren't willing to pay for it. That unfortunately, but where Crowder has a good model is, and he kind of screws himself at the same time with this in a little bit, is he uploads some of it to YouTube. I mean, Milo has been told that if he does upload something, he's going to get taken off immediately. So he's scared to upload something. His one platform he has left, don't blame him for that. But he needs to start uploading some clips from his show. I mean, maybe he can do it to the Free Speech TV YouTube channel. That's a way to get around it. But at the same time, the one thing you can't do is upload all your good stuff. That's kind of what Crowder does, is he uploads a lot of good stuff. And so you have no reason to buy his full show. I mean, he's, you got to find a good balancing line. But it's such a shitty situation we're in.
Yeah. And it's hard to get, and it's hard to gauge it too. The problem is because shit is constantly changing. Like with Crowder, it's like he's been demonetized and it's been back and forth. Like Susan Wojcicki is just butt fucking him and not even having the courtesy to give him a hand job. Like the kind of bullshit that she's doing to these independent creators. Apparently they have a fucking P score now. Is that what I'm reading? Like they have a P score for YouTube, like you get throttled or something shit like that. Sargon of Akkad just put out a video of something like that, like with YouTube and with the P score, where it's popularity with advertiser friendly shit, and it's like they're not even, YouTube's not even fucking pretending anymore. It's like, there was this like veil of, we could be, but we're probably not. Now it's like, well, fuck it, we are. What are you gonna do about it?
What's really fucked is if I don't know if this exists anymore, but I know at the beginning of the year, YouTube was pulling some shit where if your comments on your video or if your chat was like saying anything.
Well, how the fuck can you control that? You know, how do you expect you?
So,
you know,
so
they
what
expect you-
happens? Okay, so with the comments, so what happens if a bunch of conservatives decide to fucking bomb, you know, PewDiePie's channel or whatever, and then just start writing a whole bunch of Nazi shit, like, hey, well, you know, and then butt fuck him over. Like, is that like, or what if I decide to? Well, what's the one? It's like one
The
tranny
young
or whatever. Yeah, there's one tranny. Like, what if you blow that YouTuber up and like
Blair
in the
White?
comments? Yeah, no. There's fuck, I can't.
Bruce Jenner.
I really don't give a shit about these YouTube personalities enough to know their names. So you're
Yeah,
gonna have to forgive me for that one. But
Points too.
yeah, me either. You tried though, and that's the other thing is, well, and I mean, YouTube will obviously protect like certain YouTubers too. Like,
mhm.
let's be honest, like the fucking Young Turks have been like, saying like horrendous shit for years, namely that the Armenian genocide didn't happen. Are they even fucking penalized? No, because they were one of the first, big like YouTube corporate partners. So,
Well, what's
um,
interesting about that too is with mentioning Fuentes earlier, there are clips going around where he apparently says the Holocaust didn't happen. I don't know if that's true, if that's what he believes. I just heard about this, but it'd be interesting to see if his channel gets pulled because of that, but then all these other ones don't, because they cracked down Alex Jones, for stuff he said. And, it's, like I said, conservatives need to find a way to get out there more because the censorship is working. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people are becoming like effective voices are not as relevant now. They're not as talked about now because they've been banned, because they've been subverted.
I think I do feel like it's going to backfire though. Like with YouTube shit, it will backfire because like independent creators are essentially what created YouTube. Like that's the whole thing. And they're right now they're just saying, well, fuck you to all the independent creators. We're going to put a whole bunch of mainstream bullshit and we're going to force feed it to you and you're going to like it. And like there's starting to become other options now, and eventually they're fucking over their own network effect, which is baffling to me. I'm like, it's like YouTube's just stripping their most of their network effect, which is the independent creator. It's like, and all it takes is for somebody like PewDiePie to fucking leave, and that could begin a huge trend.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird to me is the fact that, well, I mean, there are lots of things that are weird, but namely with like YouTube, like I mentioned on your show earlier, it even seems like they're starting to kind of go after us smaller channels too. Like, you guys just hit like 160, which congratulations. I know that's not much, but it took me forever to get to 100, period.
Yeah, took a lot of grinding for us to get there.
I'm at 500. I'm at 500 and like I'm at 509, 510 now or something. I was at 545 like 2 weeks ago, but then YouTube sent me an email saying that they had cleaned out some of my subscribers who were bots. Now, what's interesting about that is, okay, if it were like 1 or 2, maybe 5 max, I could understand that, but they cleaned out 75 subscribers who they thought were bots. So, that's kind of suspicious too, is like even the smaller channels, they're throttling subscribers and whatnot too. And in order to get like really anything effective, on YouTube. You need like 1,000 subscribers at the very least. So
that's how you get monetization too. Like they made those rules hard to get monetization.
oh yeah, dude. That's why I have an audio. I mean, that's not the only reason why I have like an audio podcast, but like, you know, it's easier to monetize audio now and to monetize blogs than it is video, and it used to be the opposite. So
yeah, totally. And it's so hard to like conservatives have everything against them, and yet we still got Trump in office. We still got Brexit. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but we got the vote. But you know, that's what's amazing is that even with all these things against us, we can still get what we want at some point, and it's just a matter now. Because I think Trump's going to win in a landslide in 2020, but past that, what are we going to fucking do? The censorship is taking its toll. It's a very scary time. And like I said, what's also scary is this far right fringe rise. Like, I don't think it's ever going to be mainstream, but the Gen Zers, I don't know. They might. I can't put into words what I really think is going to happen because I really don't know. But that's part of the fear is the unknown.
the thing it is it doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be mainstream. It just has to be portrayed as being mainstream. By the media. I mean, no one would have even known who Richard Spencer was if the Atlantic hadn't done that profile on him 2 years ago. No one had heard of Richard Spencer before, before like late 2016, when the left, and I bet you money that the left was like actively searching for, people like trying to, make a boogeyman, and they found one in Richard Spencer. So, you want to talk about like controlled opposition. I honestly think that like Richard Spencer might have been controlled opposition.
He definitely might be, and that's what I always say is that Richard Spencer is just this boogeyman that got propped up by the media to smear the right as racist. They used to do it with David Duke, but now they're doing it with Spencer because the alt-right's more relevant than the fucking Ku Klux Klan. And it like the alt-right, like they are irrelevant for now. There's a little bit of an uptick right now, which is a little concerning, but they really irritate me because of they have shitty optics, they have shitty beliefs, and then the media uses them against us, and it's annoying that there's people even on the so-called right, like I wouldn't even consider some of these alt-right people right, like they jumped on the Yang Gang bandwagon, which is stupid, but
part of that was a meme though too, to kind of like troll people though too. And that's the other thing is like that you have to realize with the alt-right, and I'm not excusing it, but like half the shit they do is just like terrible memes that the media freaks out about too.
It is, but I will tell you, there are a few on this campus that literally joined the Yang Gang Club. I got on their board and like did shit with them. It's
what did they do? What honestly did that club even accomplish? They had like a debate with you guys. I think that's about it. And then
they had debate with us, and then they cucked out when they said when they condemned our speakers for our speaking round. They condemned Sargon Hunter when they didn't have to. They didn't sign off on the college dem statement. And then the day of the event, like, oh shit, we better condemn them. That was pretty disappointing because the college dems basically blacklist them, so we're not working with you. But I think it's stupid because like you're not going to reason with the college dems, even if you give in to their demands, they're not going to care. They just simply don't. They see Yang as a dissident that they're not going to tolerate, and it's irrelevant because he's not going to have a chance of winning. So you lost more than you gained there, Yang Gangers. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest, but especially I will say the last thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to have to go. But the college dems here, this reflection of some of these people and larger national movement. These people do not give a shit about anything but attention, winning, and their own personal gain. They are not interested in debate, and you cannot reason with them. You simply can't. The right you can reason with, and sometimes that's our downfall because people use that against us. And it's a shitty situation, but you gotta keep fighting. Right needs to fight back harder, stronger, better than ever before because these people are insane. They are insane.
I'll say one thing, and I got to go too. Alex Jones. Now, of course, Alex Jones, he's got some eccentric, opinions, of course. He's got the whole, the Tri-Cubs are coming, buy my snake oil. But, okay. But he was right about, like, when they started coming for him and they started clipping all of his platforms, they're like, they're going to come for you next. They're coming for literally everybody. You think they're not going to gobble you if you pander to them? No, they're going to fucking gobble you up too. So we got to keep fighting. Got to keep fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, and I mean, I hear people in the chat are also bringing up the Proud Boys, and look, I mean, the Proud Boys was another example of like the media just messing with people. Granted, there were a couple, fringes in the Proud Boys, but I mean, largely, I know Dictator Phil knows this, but it started as a group joke. So
yeah,
on Kumia's show. So
yeah.
Yeah, and they were a multiracial, just basically adult frat, like, that's right wing, that likes Trump, that want to protect some right wing speakers from Antifa, and it just, they the courts were against them, and they literally got people in jail for self-defense. It's pretty crazy, but that's the other thing is the left controls a lot of major institutions, and that can be hard to fight against.
Yeah. So Sean and Dictator Phil, I know you have to go. Where can we find you on social media and just on the internet in general? So,
well, for now, unless we get banned, you can find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Versa Media channel, or just search Versa Media on YouTube. That's where you can find us, and please subscribe to us because we're going to have content every week coming out. We have the full event with Sargon and Hunter up there on our channel, like the actual event with their speeches and Q&A and our interviews with them, our interviews with Milo, Mike Cernovich, Pazovic, all these people. And we have Versa Media on Twitter. I think Twitter handle is at Versa Media or at Versa News Media. I'm not gonna lie, I forget because it's hard picking to find that handle. But
I do also. I think at this point I might know your social media a little bit better than you guys do, which is
the handle.
Maybe sad. I also do want to plug that these guys are on Apple Podcasts and on Anchor as well. That was one thing the last time people were like, I can't find your friends on podcasts or anything like that. Well, they do have them. Just search for Versa Media.
You have to type it outright. Like I noticed that you have to type Versa VRSA Media. You have to usually type that because it won't it won't completely load up until you do. I don't know why the fuck that is.
And I did check. Our Twitter handle is Versa News Media. That's what I thought it was. And we're on Facebook too, as Versa Media. Like the best way is just to search for Versa Media. You see the little Eye of Horus, or the Alan Parsons Eye in the Sky eye, with the red background. That's us. And like he said, for the podcast, we're on Anchor too, which puts us on every podcasting platform. Search Versa Media.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter, Dictator Phil. That's the Twitter handle.
Yeah,
right? One word, Dictator Phil. You ever want to see me say stupid shit to liberals? There it is.
Well, smart shit to stupid liberals, I would say.
Well,
and
some of it's stupid. Some of it I just try to piss people off. Like some of it I just don't care. I'm like, let's see how many people I can trigger and get to block me.
Yeah, and so And if you wanna see me use emojis on Twitter, just search for my quote tweets of Dictator Phil because you know those your tweets are always worth emoji reacting with. So.
And you can also check out Sam's interview that we did a few months ago on our channel and the new one that we did today where you joined in and started shooting the shit with us. That was pretty cool. So
Yep,
check it out.
where I may or may not have said a bad word.
It's
So
here though, so they're gonna miss it.
It never happened.
It
Yeah,
never happened. Nothing to see here. But
Yeah,
thank you for letting us come on though.
Yep.
oh, you're welcome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, Alex, you're free to stick around here if you want to, or if you need to go, I'll let you plug your stuff too if you have
I
anything.
don't got anything. I can stay for another few minutes. I got to pick up my girlfriend and in a little bit. She just got a
I
job.
think he kind of vanished in the thin air. Anyway, have a good night, man.
Yeah, see you. Thank you.
Alrighty. So.
Yeah, I'll stay on for a little bit. So what's going on, man?
Oh, not much. One of the other things I do a lot is I do review movies somewhat. So
Oh shit! I just saw Zombieland 2 yesterday.
no way. I just watched the original Zombieland on Halloween. And that was 10 years. That movie's 10 years old now, believe it or not. So how's the sequel?
Oh, it was good. I haven't seen the first Zombieland since probably it came out, but my girlfriend loves zombie movies and shit like that. So yeah,
I like zombie parodies. So
Oh no, she has a whole thing full of like Walking Dead stuff. I think she even had like I don't know if it was from Walking Dead. She had some sword from something, but she's got like this whole cabinet devoted to like Walking Dead and shit like that. But no, it was a good movie. I don't know why they waited 10 years for it. To be honest, like it just kind of makes it a little bit difficult to believe certain parts of it. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but it was a good movie. I definitely got to see it. Now, of all the movies out there, I still think Joker's by far the best one currently out. If you haven't seen that yet,
I haven't seen Joker yet just because when that movie came out I was kind of like in a bad place emotionally. I'm better now, but like the week that it came out I received some bad news, in my personal life, so I was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to wait a bit, so which is what they kind of suggested, but I actually just heard Joe Rogan's podcast with Ed Norton. I guess he has a new movie called Motherless Brooklyn that's out now, and I want to go see that. That looks good. So
I haven't heard of that one. Oh, do you see Joe Rogan's? He did an interview with Ed Snowden the other day.
I started watching that, but I didn't get like through all of it. That was weird to see Joe Rogan do a remote stream. I don't think he's ever done a remote like show or whatever. So
Yeah, I mean, he kind of had to with Ed Snowden because he comes to the United States. I don't think he'd be able to step foot on the ground before he gets arrested and probably thrown into prison somewhere. But it was weird though. Like when I watched that, like I think that like Joe Rogan took like a back seat and just kind of let Ed Snowden do his thing. And I mean, he had a lot of interesting things to say. I'd definitely recommend finishing up that interview. It's one of his best ones out there.
yeah, I'm definitely going to. Rogan's kind of interesting because I know that there are some people who are going to say that Joe Rogan's a gatekeeper, but I mean, honestly, if Rogan was such a gatekeeper, do you honestly think they would have allowed him to have the likes of Edward Snowden on his podcast? I mean, YouTube's even starting to fuck with the Rogan. So
I mean, he's one of the people I really respect today. Like he does not deplat. Like he'll put like anyone on there. Anyone like who's not disingenuous at least. Like he had like Alex Jones. He's had Sargon. He's had the guy from Twitter on there. I forget what his name was. He literally has everyone on there, and I really respect that. not many people do that, especially in today's cancel culture. You get anything controversial, they'll just try to deplatform, and if you put them on there, they'll call you a Nazi, and they try that with Joe. But I mean, even at my work, I've seen people who, I wouldn't really associate with anything on the right, and they watch Joe Rogan.
Yeah, well, even some of my liberal friends, and not that I really care or what they think, but they've kind of like, I don't like conservative talk, but you're okay. You kind of remind me of Joe Rogan, and I'm like, okay, I like that. So I guess that's a good compliment. But yeah, I mean, YouTube would be stupid YouTube would be stupid to cancel him, because let's face it, if they cancel Joe Rogan, people are just going to leave the platform altogether, I think, just because he generally is a major pull for YouTube in general. So they don't want to fuck with his channel. So
Yeah, absolutely. Like he's one of a kind guy, and he's I wish there was more people like that, like Joe Rogan that we had today. Who can just like have a conversation with anyone. I think that's really important for America as a whole, because we're just not doing that right now.
that's what I try and do. So.
And I mean, of all the interviews I've seen too, it's like, he just kind of talks to him. It's not like a scripted interview. I know, in Versa we've had, just lately, at least I've noticed, like sometimes it feels scripted. I wish we could get to that level where, important people just want to have casual conversations with us. I mean, I think with Milo we got a little bit to that level because we had him on for quite a bit, but most of the time, we want to go and ask him 1,000 questions up front. We don't, especially because we got 3 people on here too. That's a little bit tough sometimes too, but we make it work.
The one thing that was interesting, you bring that up. The one thing that was interesting was I interviewed not Milo. I wish I could get Milo on my show, but I interviewed Ben Shapiro way back in 2012. When I was in high school, and this was a bit before, he was already kind of getting famous, but he still wasn't like Ben Shapiro, if that makes sense. And I asked him a bunch of questions about how it was to work with Andrew Breitbart, who was a huge influence of mine. And I recently interview, and the one thing that people have said to me in the past couple of days is, wow, you actually got Ben Shapiro to laugh and crack a few jokes and whatnot. And that's kind of what I like to try and do. And I've noticed that you guys are the same way. You guys like to kind of go into what makes some of these politicos, I guess, human, for a better lack of words. So
yeah, it's been a tough journey for us too. I mean, when we first started out, we didn't get anyone like this. It was only in the past probably 6 months to a year that we actually started getting big names on the show. It all started with Dictator Phil, because I don't know if you know this, but our show, we've had this thing. The main host Sean, he's a senior now, but we started this one freshman year. That was back when I was at Penn State with him. And it'd be me, and we had this other guy, this Vince guy on there, and I haven't really heard from him in probably 2 or 3 years. He's kind of changed a bit, and it used to be a completely different show. But we've always had 3 people for the most part. We had him, we had this other guy on there for a little while, and then he kind of dropped off the face of the earth. Then we got Phil, and thank God he's graduating, he's still coming on here, and I like that. We actually had some consistency, and he's got a knack for getting people on here. I don't know how he does it sometimes, but he's good at that.
If it makes you guys feel any better, I've had my show for 12 years now almost. I started when I was 14 in 2008, just doing an audio podcast, and I had highs and lows, but I never skyrocketed when I was a teenager, really young. Thank God, because I don't think I would have been able to handle the fame. But it's really been like in the last, honestly, really 2 years that I've started to take off. But I've just grinded, and I mean, Ben was like my first big guest in high school, and then I had a bunch of MAGA people on during the election, and that was then I met Dictator Phil through Jeff, and then you guys invited me on, and so it's really been this year when I've built up my YouTube audience too. So it's interesting. So
It's tough building, YouTuber audience. I remember when we first started out, it was like, you know, getting 10 subscribers. That was like a big milestone. Now it's like, we're over 100. We had to do something special, I think, for 1,000 if we ever get to that point, which I hope we do. But it's been, if it wasn't for these guests, because before we started getting the guests, I think we were hovering around like 40, maybe 50, probably less than that. And then once we started getting these like, big name guests, things just started rocketing in motion. Really, it was Sargon that I think he almost doubled what our YouTube subscriber was. We were at like 100 now, maybe not doubled, but we got like 60 subscribers in a matter of days.
yeah, and that was kind of my whole thing with when I reposted the Ben interview, and then also when I interviewed Mersh from ROTC radio after the whole Owen controversy. But yeah, so I mean, YouTube and the internet is just a strange kind of phenomenon. So for sure. So
Yeah, it's pretty tough. So yeah, how have you been just keeping up though? Like, do you do a lot of stuff other than radio in your free time? Are you still going to school?
yeah, I'm a student. I'm a professional technical communications major. So basically like anything having to do with writing and media, that's kind of what that consists of. So and then I do game a little bit, but not as much as I used to. So and I'm also into like comic books and pretty much anything like nerd culture. So um
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. I used to play some games back in the day, but I mean I just haven't had as much time. And honestly, yeah, I used to play way too much, like especially when I was a kid. That was like all I did. I'd play video games, and honestly, looking back at it, I wish I would have put some of that time towards something a little bit more constructive. Back when time wasn't a premium. Nowadays, it's like, I got a house recently, and that's where most of my time is going to. It's just like upkeep on the house, paying bills, doing all this and all that.
well, congratulations, you're finally adulting. So I'm still living with my folks while I'm in college. So you're a step ahead of me there, at least right now. So but yeah, I mean, gaming, part of it for me was I I just, part of me was I lost interest once like everything started becoming like DLC related, and once like everything started becoming like you have to like download this DLC to make the game interesting, and whatnot. So it's like I just want to buy one game and play it, and
Oh
be
yeah.
done with it. So
Like honestly, once I graduate college, that's really when I haven't had the time to really do it as much. One, I've been working in the field. I do cybersecurity at I work in a financial institution. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, it's just I just haven't had the time to go and do just little things like that. And then like two, it's like games are so expensive nowadays. Like if you go and buy like a full retail price game, one, you're dropping big money on a game console, so that's like $400 plus, and then you have to go and buy for most of them. If you're playing an online game like Call of Duty or something, you're paying for a subscription service. And then I used to do that. I used to have like PlayStation 4, and I'd have PS Plus, and then I'd go and buy these games, and then they take so much memory now. On top of this game disc, you have to go and put like gigabytes and gigabytes into that hard drive. It just takes so much space. You need to buy a new hard drive. It gets expensive.
Well,
you
you're
know?
ahead of me. I'm still on a PS3, which I'm amazed even still runs. So
I've been playing PC games like lately. Like honestly, I'll just play like RuneScape, and I've been doing that for a while, just kind of to shoot the shit. Yeah, I do that like half the time I'm on the podcast because it's something. It's an easy game. It's repetitive, and I pay what like $10 a month or something. And it's just something to do, kind of to shoot the shit. I'll watch YouTube videos or something while I play it. And I've played for like 2 years at this point. Nothing like super serious. I'll just kind of go on there once in a while.
I've been playing. I own a lot of Apple products. Well, let's be honest. I own all Apple products. So I've been playing on the Apple Arcade thing that they recently came out with, and that's actually pretty good value. Like $5 a month for unlimited games, no ads, nothing. I can play on my Mac. I can play on my phone. I can play on my iPad, or my TV.
Are they like? Are they just old arcade games, or are they like?
Some of them are old arcade games. Some of them are like completely original games. So, and some of them are actually like really good, like 3D games. So,
yeah, that's pretty good value. My brother, he got me for my birthday. It was this some sort of like you know what Raspberry Pi is, like the microcomputer.
yeah.
So he did this like thing. It's got this. It looks like an old school Game Boy Color case. He had, I forget the name. It was like called a RetroPie or something. And it's got like over I think 3,000 games on the damn thing, and it's like every like bunch of games, like everything from like Super Mario to like you can. I think he even has like like Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 games on there, on the size of a Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color. And I've been playing that, and every once in a while, because I mean I really didn't care for it when I first got, because I was like, oh, I don't need this. I haven't played that many games, but you know those old games, like the good old games, you know, they don't make stuff like that anymore for the most part. It's all this like 3D crap, and they put 99% of their money and shit into the 3D stuff, and the gameplay actually kind of sucks, and it's filled with this DLC. So you're paying $70 for a brand new game, and it might be shit. Like Assassin's Creed. I used to love that game series, and it just became ridiculous how much microtransactions they want you to make, and it's an okay game. Like the original one was awesome. The second one was pretty cool, and then like what was Assassin's Creed 3 was probably the pinnacle, because you could do just so much shit, and then just kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, for me, it was the microtransactions that really killed everything for me. So, just like the fact that you have to buy like, in-app purchases, just like you do on apps, like, get the fuck out of here on that stuff. So,
Yeah, man. Well, anyways, man, I gotta get going. It was nice talking to you.
Yep, so do I. So thank you for coming on, and as always, all of you guys are gentlemen and scholars. So, and keep up the fight out there in Philly. So, and don't freeze out there either. So, because it's cold. So,
All right, man. Well, I'll see you around.
all right, thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking around and tuning into tonight's episode of the Whitfield Report. I want to thank all of you for tuning in and watching this live stream, and I want to thank all the podcast listeners for listening as well. I realized that Friday night's live stream was a bit long, but I really appreciate all of you guys out there. From all of us at NGC Studios, have a good night. God bless, and God save this great nation. God, freedom, legacy, and that order. And I will see you on the next episode. God bless, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.